Hello, happy live, happy Wednesday. It has been a while since I've done one of these, so I apologize and thank you for tuning in. I'm going today do my normal, which is answer your guys' questions as well as go over some happy news and some real estate updates and so forth. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. Otherwise, I will just blab along, okay? Hopefully everybody's amazing and well, and I'm just going to jump right into questions, okay? All right. So the first question comes from Carolyn, and she is in New Lowell. So Carolyn asks, my husband is quite ill, and I would like to have him live his last days at home, but some friends have told me it's bad for resale if someone passes away in the home. Do I have to disclose this? Thank you, Carolyn, for asking. I'm sorry that your husband is not doing well. But it's nice that you do want to have him at home, as opposed to obviously in a more sterile kind of, hospital, etc. Hi, Scotty. Hi, Caitlin. I can't see. I think it's Mel and Ted. Hello. So some lawyers say you do have to disclose it. Others just say you have to tell if it was a murder. But if it's natural causes, you don't have to say. So again, depends on the lawyer, but most say you don't have to say. So, I would say that you don't have to disclose it. And again, if that did happen, I could let you know the lawyers that do say that. There are some people that write in that no deaths have happened, anything stigmatizing the property, etc., etc. They'll write an extra clause in there. Specifically, if they happen to be of Asian descent or Muslim descent, they tend to write that in because they really believe that it has bad, like, feng shui or vu, whatever you want to call it, energy to the home. So they usually write something in extra, but on average, you don't have to tell, okay? Unless it was a murder or something like that. So thank you for asking. Next thing is a 53-year-old deciding to make some changes in her life. So there was this 53-year-old. She was a mother of 4, a grandma of 8, and she was quite overweight. She had like a walker. She was on over 20 medications, etc. And one day she just decided it was kind of embarrassing that she couldn't do much. So she started to eat healthy. She started to go to the gym. Fast forward, she has lost 250 pounds. She now does weightlifting competitions and obviously is a lot more fit, etc. And she's chasing her grandkids around, etc. She said that the other day her one granddaughter turned around and was like, Granny, I didn't know you could run. Because obviously back in the day when she had her, I was going to say stretcher, but her walker, she wasn't the most agile person. So I just like when people decide, enough's enough, and they just change their lives and take it into their own hands. So I like that. Oh, hi, Brian. How are you? I saw you were at some like Halloween. I don't know what it was, some Halloween thing. Hello, Scotty. Nice to see you. I know it's been forever. So the next question comes from Mark and Tanner in Innisfil. So Mark and Tanner in Innisfil said, or asked, my brother and I would like to purchase, but he has bad credit, but money, and I have no money. So together we are strong, but individually not so much. Do you think it's possible for us to get a mortgage? Thank you, Mark and Tana, for asking. It honestly just depends on your credit. So I once went to purchase a home with an ex of mine who had money to put down but didn't have very good credit, and it actually messed things up, so we didn't put him on title at all. So it just kind of depends how bad the credit is, etc. So they're going to look at your credit, they're going to look at your debt to service ratio, and they're going to look if you move around jobs of both of you, okay? So if one of you has been in the same job for 15, 20 years, but you have really bad credit and you move around, and your debt to service ratio is good, do you know what I mean? Like, they're going to look at everything. And it also depends if your credit's 300, is it 500, is it 610, etc. So they're going to look at everything. Are you self-employed? Do you have a set salary and so forth? So it depends on a lot of things. So I can't really say if you guys would be approved. It totally depends on, do you make 100,000, spend 90? Do you make 100,000, spend 20, etc. So it's a really broad question, to be honest. So it'd be best to check with a mortgage specialist to see if yourself and your brother can buy. But congrats if you do. Oh, okay, Brian, it was Alice Cooper. Gotcha. It was not Halloween. I apologize. You love Alice Cooper. You've been a million times, I think, or 20 or so. What is the next thing I was going to do? Oh, yeah. There was a 19-year-old, and she basically got sick. And supposedly 1 in 4 people are carriers of something called bacterial meningitis, but most people don't have any symptoms or anything like that. And so this girl, it did hit her differently, and doctors said she had 2% chance to live. And so she ended up losing her hearing in one ear as well as her spleen, and they had to amputate both of her legs just below the knee. And again, she's 19. She was a snowboarder, etc. She was going to school, I think, for massage therapy or just finishing or something like that. And anyways, she decided that that wasn't going to be the end for her. And with prosthetics and so forth, went on to win 3 Olympic medals at the Paralympics Games. And she started a nonprofit organization, and she helps kids that also, are missing a limb or 2 limbs, etc., do snowboarding, do skateboarding, etc., and get them into the Paralympics Games as well. So I thought that was cool because I like anybody that goes after their dreams regardless of their circumstances. So I like that. My next question that came in was from Caleb and Barrie. I just have 2 more things and we'll get to real estate, okay? So Caleb and Barrie. So Caleb said, I know a bunch of properties already have garden suites or permission to do so that are for sale. Do you think it's better to buy something like this or split up my money to 2 properties with no garden suite? Caleb, it's hard to say. Sorry, I know the fellow that said with his brother. So it's hard to say because I would just have to see numbers. So you have to run your numbers and do your homework. So for example, let's just say the 1 garden suite's going to rent for $1,500 and the house is going to rent for $3,000. So obviously you have your $4,500, and then say you bought 2 homes. I'm just making up numbers' sake. 1 rents for $2,000, the other rents for $2,000. So obviously you're only $4,000 there. The other one you're $4,500. If you're buying it for the same, obviously the one brings in more revenue every month, but you just need to do your homework. That was just a very simple, answer, but you have to do your homework to see what will make more sense for you. But also if there's 2 homes, for example, obviously there's 2 roofs that eventually will need to be done, 2 sets of windows, etc. So you have to weigh out all your options and so forth. And one thing with garden suites is just make sure there's enough parking, because sometimes it's a bit of a pain with parking for people, or, I don't know. I've had neighbors obviously complain, but they're legal, so you can't really do much about that. But I would just run your numbers and see what things in the neighborhood are renting for. Okay? But thank you for asking. And the one last thing before I get into real estate is 21,000 guests at a wedding recently, which is crazy. So there was this man in Pakistan, and he had kidney stones every year, so he was going to get this surgery, and the only place that did it supposedly that was the safest and what have you for him was in Arkansas. So before he went to Arkansas, he went on some groups on Facebook, etc., started to talk to people and so forth. So by the time he went there for his surgery, he had people that let him stay with him. He had people that drove him to his appointments and to surgery, people that bought him dinner, etc. And he felt so welcomed by this little town. There was about 21,000 people. He invited them all to his wedding, which I just thought was really cute because, he was just paying it forward. And all these people, obviously 21,000 people didn't help him, but I still thought it was cute that he invited them all to his wedding. Brian, we took a variable for the first time last renewal, and we see now as rate climbs, should we be concerned? So Brian, it depends. So some people's banks, for example, so I'm just, again, doing easy numbers sake. Let's just say your mortgage was $1,500, and then with the rate increase last Wednesday, let's just say now it's $1,720. Again, just made those numbers up depending, obviously, on your mortgage. So that can happen to some people. Other times, banks will say, hey, you were in a 25-year amortization, or you had, I'm going to use that for easy numbers sake. They might say, okay, let's put up to a 30 to keep your payments the same. Or they might say, hey, let's do a set payment every single month of $1,900. And then if the rates fluctuate, etc., because they're supposed to go down fall of next year, then we'll have that excess amount in there. So it just depends on your bank if which way they're going to do it. Do you know what I mean? And also what makes sense affordability wise for you guys. I don't know how long you locked in for that, if it was a year or 5, etc. But just thought I would answer that question. Yes, it is incredible, Scotty. Sorry, I just turned that around. I went to read what that said, and you just got to see my kitchen, so there you go. Okay, so now going to real estate stuff, okay? Hi, Dad, how are you? Hi, Becky. Hi, Janice. I can't see everybody's bubble there. Hope you guys are super amazing. Okay, so as many of you know, last week, exactly a week ago today, the interest rates went up 0.75. So the time before that, which was July 13th, they went up 1%, which was the highest it has gone up at once since 1998. So that happened, and kind of just like what Brian was saying, what does that mean for people? So if they're not in a fixed rate and they are in a variable, depending on their bank, so it might just affect their monthly payments, or like I said, some banks are changing the amortization. So I use the example of 25 for Brian, but let's just say you're at 18 years left on your amortization. They might say, hey, let's put it to 23 so it keeps your payments the same so you don't notice, the increase. And others are doing it differently, like I mentioned again before to Brian. So I'm not going to go over it all again since I just said it about a minute ago. But that's basically what that is. What else was I going to say? If you have not bought yet, just make sure that you locked in for 90 days. And if you did lock in for 90 days, make sure that you buy before your 90 days is up. And I have heard different things from different mortgage brokers. So some people say they have to get the keys before their 90 days is up. And others have said, no, they just have to buy firm before the 90 days is up. And it has to go to the lender and underwriter, etc. And they don't have to move in before 90 days is up. So whichever applies to you, I'm not sure. Probably depends if you're an A lender or a B lender. And I'm sure like Royal Bank has different rules than Bank of Montreal or TD, etc. So just check with your lender if you have to have your closing date before the end of your 90 days. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to talk about locally right now. Okay. So Simcoe County, we're in Simcoe County, or myself, I should say. Most of you are. So last month in Simcoe County, there were 21.6% less homes sold than August of 2021. And that was still 316 homes, which is still a good number of homes. And as a whole, from January 1st to August 31st in all of Simcoe County, there were 3,038 homes sold. Okay. So that is down 33.8% over last year's January 1st to August 31st. So just as an FYI, but again, I'll explain in more detail. And then when we saw just in Barrie, so that was all of Simcoe. So basically Bradford, Innisfil, Barrie, Oro, Ramera, Tiny Tay, etc. Okay. If we do just in Barrie, and if somebody wanted these more specific, just for Tiny, just for Tay, etc., reach out to me. But I don't do everything just because it gets a little overwhelming with all the numbers. But just in Barrie, there were 161 homes sold in August, and that was 20.7% less homes than sold August of 2021. And although homes basically are still obviously on the market, there's a lot more to choose from. So a lot of buyers have come out of the woodworks because, they're like, hey, there's not bidding wars like I heard back before, and people aren't going 100, 200, 300,000 over, etc. So a lot of buyers have come out of the woodworks, even though the interest rates have gone up, because now they feel like, hey, if it's listed for 800, we might get it for 790 or 775, as opposed to when it was listed for 800 in February and it was selling for 1.1, 1.2. Okay. So a lot of buyers have come out of the woodworks. And I know they always say things are down, just like I just mentioned, it being down 21.6% in Simcoe County and 20.7% in Barrie. So that you might see in like an article headline or something like that. So down, down, down. However, the sales prices are not down. Okay. So you always hear about that kind of thing. But the average year to date price in Simcoe County is $970,175, which is up 12.1%. So you never hear the up 12.1%. You just hear the down 21.6 or whatever it is. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So that's all of Simcoe County. And then when we look just at Barrie, not Simcoe, just Barrie, the year to date average is 868,482, which is up 19.6% over last year's January 1st to August 31st. Okay. And then if we do surrounding Barrie, so still in Simcoe County, but just taking Barrie out of the equation, the average sales price is $1,073,352, which is up 19.1%. So again, the number of homes selling is down, but the average sales price is up. Okay. Just so you guys are in the loop. So there were 55.5% more homes listed in August of 2022 than August of 2021, which was 740 new listings in that month. And at the end of August, there were 1,103 listings still on the market. So it's just because obviously some had trailed over from July, etc. Okay. And that was 203.9% than the end of August 2021. And on average, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you guys, but on average, 64% of Canadians' income is going towards paying their mortgage, which obviously in their debt to service ratio is not very good. That is a high amount, and that's the highest it's been since 1982. So obviously 40 years ago, it's the highest amount. Again, 64% of people's income is going towards their mortgage. They didn't do it towards their rent. Sometimes they give us stats about rent, etc., but this is just towards their mortgage. Okay. Across Canada, home sales, so not the sales prices of homes, but the number of homes selling is down 31.1% across Canada, okay? So the number of homes selling across Canada down 31.1%, not the average sales price, okay? Okay, just making sure you guys understand. The highest price actually recently in Simcoe County was not freehold detached, which it commonly is. It was actually townhome condos, and they went up 20.4%. Okay, so townhome condos, if you own a townhome condo, you should be excited because they did go up 20.4%. Okay, and that is from last year. And 1 year, or not 1 year, 1 bedroom homes, which are not obviously very common because these are not I'm going to start again. 1 bedroom homes that are freehold, not condos, which you rarely ever see, they are now averaging $480,000 in Simcoe. I really don't see those, to be honest, and that is down 4.0% over last year. But again, I don't really see any of those, and that's not counting mobile homes or not counting condos, so I really don't see those. So 2 bedroom homes are averaging $582 in Simcoe, and that is up 13.8%. Okay. And then for 3 bedrooms, they are now averaging $825 in Simcoe County, and that is also up, and that is up 19.6%. And then when we get to 4 bedroom homes, they're averaging just shy of $1 million, $989, $945, and that is up 22.2% over last year when you were trying to buy a 4 bedroom home. Okay. What else? Dun, 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 dun. There were 56.1% more single-family homes for sale in Barrie. I don't know why, in August of 2022 than August of 2020. And 79.6% more townhomes. Okay? What else do we have? So on average, sales prices are down 18.2% from February. Okay? But they're still up from the beginning of the pandemic. Okay? And then single family homes in Simcoe County, average days on market this year so far, not this year, August this year, were 28 days. And last year, August 2021, the average days on market was 14. And again, that is average days on market for single family home. Condos on average in August were on the market for 29 days. And in 2021, they were on the market for 16 days. So that has changed. And for condos, last year, the average was $595 and $19 to be exact. And this year, it's $593, $123. So the condos in August did see a little dip. So it just depends if you're looking at the whole year, if you're looking at just Barrie, if you're looking at Simcoe, if you're just looking at Simcoe, not counting Barrie, etc. Depending. So there's the odd one that went down, but majority have gone up. Right now, the average single family home is $825, $465. And condos are $593, $123. I just said that before, but anyways, that's in August. And last year, a single family was $981, $586. Not last year. Year to date, I can't even read my own thing, so scratch that. Year to date, so January 1st to August 31st, because we don't have September yet. Year to date for a single family in Simcoe County is $981. $586, and last year it was $829, okay, $267. So from $829 to $981. So yes, less are selling, but prices are still up, okay. And in 2020, just so you guys are, if you're curious, which was obviously beginning of COVID, etc. Well, actually, it was kind of just started in COVID. It was $622. So it's gone $622, $829, $981, okay. Okay. Condos year to date. 2022 averaging $688, $826, and 2021 was $564. So they are up as well. $564, $870 to be exact for those people that would like exacts. And on average in August, the percentage sold compared to asking is 96.6%. But basically, like January, February, March, if somebody wanted $1 million, they would ask $799. If somebody wants $1 million now, they ask $1 million or $1,020,000, etc. So now, again, the average sales price to list price is 96.6%, and that's for a single family, but still year to date, it's still averaging just over 106%, 106.1 to be exact. In Simcoe County, the average sales prices to, I'll just give you a bunch of different things. For a detached is $808,000. There's stuff after that, $973, but I'm just going to do the first 3 numbers, okay? So $808. For a detached, a semi is $642, a town is $628,000, and a condo $578,000. Okay, that's in Simcoe County. And then in Barrie, averaging $798 for a detached, a semi $616, townhouses beat the semis at $623, and condos came in at $520. And then surrounding areas, I'm not going to break it into like detached semis, towns, etc. but surrounding areas, Agila, for example, in August was 901. Again, I'm not going to give the rest of the numbers, 901,000, just because I think that's more important, just the beginning. Bradford was 970. Clearview was 778. New Tecumseth was 807. Oro was 962,000. Penetang was 686,000. Ramera just shy of $1 million at 999, which is crazy for Ramera. Severn 786, Tay 586, and Tiny 653. Okay. Last year in Simcoe County, so January 1st to August 31st, there were 7,389 homes sold. Okay. This year, there's only 4,712. So obviously that is down. It's down 36.2%, to be honest. And last year, the average sales price was $775,934 in Simcoe County. And this year, it is $901,688. So that is up 16.2%. And I know a lot of people are worried about like, oh, the market's going to crash next year or whatever. And just as an FYI, we have a new program through our brokerage. And if your house goes down in value and you do decide to sell, so you buy it this year and it goes down in value and you have to sell next year, we will sell it for free. Okay. Last year in Barrie, so year to date, so again, January 1st to August 31st, there were 2,489 homes sold. The one I just did was all of Simcoe. This is now Barrie. So 2,489 homes sold, okay? This year there were 1,535, which is obviously less, 38.3% less to be exact. And last year the average sales price was $726,416. This year it's $867,737. So $726 last year, $867 this year, which is up 19.5%. So even though a lot of economists say that the market is going to dip in 2023, they are saying it's still going to be on average 15% higher than the beginning of the pandemic. Okay. It's not going to where the pandemic was when it started, February, March, or whatever you want to consider it, of 2022. It's not going from 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, 2008, etc. Okay. It's still expected to be 15% higher than the beginning of the pandemic. With the rising costs of like borrowing and, lumber or whatever, HVAC, etc., a lot of the new builds have been put on hold, which is basically going to take us back to where we were before the pandemic, which was with no inventory, because obviously with immigration and so forth, and the amount of people and the amount of, millennials buying homes and being just at that age, we're just not going to have the inventory, especially if the new builds slow down. So that is another thing expected to be a constant problem. What else? And new builds are expected, I just said, but I didn't give a percentage, to be down 30% next year. Okay, I'm going to try and not switch this to my kitchen and just scroll up. Sorry, I just want to see. Oh, you're sweet, Brian. And I'm glad, Dad, that you guys are good. And the kitchen wasn't that clean, Scotty, but I'm glad it wasn't a hot mess. Okay. So, hi, Caitlin. How are you? Hi, Josh. Hi, Craig. I can't see everybody's faces. Okay. Questions. Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask some that have come in throughout the week. Okay. So, next question comes from Katie in Barrie. And what does Katie ask? Katie said, I know prices have cooled, but buying still seems out of reach for me. Do you think I should wait until next year? Thank you, Katie, for asking. We actually did a post not too long ago, and basically it showed a home that was $1 million and a home that was $800,000. And the million was before when the interest rate was lower, and then now, and basically there's only a $30 price difference because, yes, the home is worth less to buy, but then the interest rates are higher, so it really wasn't doing anything. So, if you spent $2,000 a month on renting for the next year, waiting, and obviously that's over $20,000, $24,000, whatever. But then meanwhile, the house and, is only $30 difference in the payment a month. So $30 as opposed to $2,000 that you're spending on rent. Most people are just buying now. And as long as they're not selling next year, then they're fine. They go through the little dip next year, and then they're fine the next year. Basically just what happened in 2017, but just a more extended time frame than 2017 spring to 2017 fall. Okay, so I would suggest more just getting in at your current price point. Just don't sell it next year if you bought it this year right now. Okay, but again, if you had to, we have just rolled out that new thing that we will sell it for free. Okay, but thank you for asking. What else do we have? Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Okay, so basically do what makes you happy. There was a couple, let me pull them up here. There was a couple and they worked like your typical, 9-to-5 jobs, etc. And they just decided it wasn't for them. They ended up selling everything. They bought this, what company was it? Ford Transit, a 17-seater, like kind of cargo van. And they made it like a little tiny home, and they've been traveling the last 5 months. And where have they been? Germany, Austria, Italy, Croatia, Hungary, Slovenia, Montenegro, if I said that right. Basically, you're going to travel for 3 years in Europe. They do both work remotely, so they can work online, and then they're going to ship it over to Canada and the States, and then head down to South America. So I just like when people go after their dreams, and they're not like, we'll do it when we're retired, or we'll do it when the kids are, at university or whatever. I just like when people aren't afraid to go after things and go after their dreams, whatever that looks like for them. So I like that for that couple. Next question comes from Marilyn in Snow Valley. Marilyn in Snow Valley, we have a pond that we think is beautiful and we're thinking of selling, but someone told me that buyers thinking of ponds associate it with mosquitoes. Should we fill it in before we sell? Thank you, Marilyn, for asking. I'm not sure how big your pond is, but that is, common with some people. I would find, to be honest, it's more like small ones. So if you have a little small one, maybe. It's obviously hard to say without me seeing it. So maybe if you have a small one, do it, but definitely not if you have a big one. I think a lot of people think big ones are pretty and they have like that little fountain thing in the middle, and sometimes they have a little dock to it or a little trellis or whatever. The little small one's not as popular, but it's kind of hard to say without seeing it. So it just kind of depends on the size, but I think it's good that you are proactively thinking from a buyer's perspective to see what they would like and what would be, more appealing to more buyers. So I like that you're doing that. So thank you for asking. What else? Reunited after 77 years. So there was a man, and it's World War II, 1945. He has 4 children. His wife passes away from cancer when she's 30, and basically he's left with these children. So he ended up giving up one for adoption. I'm not sure why, just one, but it was the youngest one. And that was in England. The people that adopted him took him to Australia, and obviously lost touch with the family, etc. And now they have reconnected, and the man had not been on a plane for over 50 years, and he got a passport, and he went and visited his long lost brother. Some of the other siblings had passed, but his long lost brother for his 80th birthday. So I just thought that was cute. Next question comes from Julie and Dan in Aurelia. So Julie and Dan in Aurelia said, we have read both of your books and find it inspiring to know you went from counting quarters, bartending, and serving to owning so many homes and businesses. What is one piece of advice you could give us? That's very sweet, Julie and Dan. Thank you for saying that. To be honest, I would just say go after, like your dreams and like what's in your heart and what makes you happy. So I don't know if, real estate is your jam kind of thing, or maybe you want to own like 30 llamas, or you want to have a dog farm, or you want to, I don't know, save a whole bunch of children, or I really have no idea what you like to do. So I would just say go after whatever makes you happy. So I think it's cute that you found my story inspiring, but obviously everybody has their own story, so you have to go after what lights you up and what makes you happy. And basically when you get to the end, you're not like, oh, I wish I did something better, or I wish I tried, or I wish I this, or I wish I that, because obviously we don't have another chance. So I just think it's great if you go after what you want for now, and because we never know what's going to happen. So if you go after your dreams, I think that is most important, and the best advice I can give you is to go after what lights you up. So I think I had one more thing. I did. Let's see. It was a man and a cell phone. They went canoeing basically 10 months ago. The one fellow stood up in the canoe, and him and his friend tipped over, and he lost his cell phone, which was random. But they just found it the other day. He dried it off. He took it apart, plugged it in, and it worked. And instead of just throwing it out or anything like that, he posted the screenshot picture basically of the home screen online, and it was shared more than 400 times. Eventually it found its owner, and he just thought, you know, if I lost pictures of my kids, I'd hate it. So he just wanted this person to have all the pictures back of his kids and so forth. So I just thought it was cute. Anyways, thank you guys for popping in. I will not be here next week, but the week after, but this weekend there will be lots of lives. So feel free to tune into those. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Hopefully, hope you guys are all amazing and well, and thank you for tuning in. Stay kind to one another, be kind to yourself, and don't forget to go after your dreams.